The word mitzvah has a tzadik vav hey shoresh, a translation that points to the act of commanding, ordering somebody to a point, and, as we noted previously, mitzvot offer us an alternative model, a counterbalance to the negative aspects of society, selfish passions, relativism, and murky ethics. The other aspect is that mitzvot elevate the mundane to a level of spirituality and holiness. But these two aspects of the mitzvah relate to the impact that the mitzvah has upon man. The primary function of a mitzvah, one that underpins Orthodox Judaism in all its shades, ranging from right-wing centrist through to the yeshivish and Hasidic commitments to Judaism, is that they are a means to facilitate a connection between man and God. This aspect of mitzvah, its connectivity to God, is to be found primarily in the chukim category of the Taryag mitzvot. The mishpatim, the societal laws, do not necessarily point to a connection with God, because, in theory at least, one does not need Judaism to lead a moral life. A point argued by those subscribing to secular humanism, who merely took the value system from Torah and or indirectly from the Judeo-Christian ethic, removed the God component, and trumpeted the ability of man as an evolved human being to live a moral and ethical life. Similarly, in terms of elevating the mundane to the spiritual, one can experience spirituality nowadays without the baggage of religion, and therefore the mishpatim laws can be observed, kept, without necessarily the commitment to God. For obvious reasons, the edut category of mitzvot are more closely linked to God. They are kept because of the interaction between God and Bnei Israel in the early biblical period. But edut do not necessarily point to a connectivity to God. That is not to say that non-practicing Jews do not observe many of the edut laws and customs. The eating of a matzah, for example, is universally practiced by Jews throughout the world. Traditional Jews, although not necessarily observant, do go to the Bet Knesset on the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But, dare I suggest, that these expressions of Judaic practice has less to do with religion and more to do with ethnic identity. And here I shall digress somewhat to distinguish between Judaism and Jewishness. To the practicing Jew, centrality of life revolves around Judaism, the connectivity between God and man. But from Judaism, there are areas of Jewishness, the ethnic aspect of Judaism, that extend beyond those activities prescribed by the Taryag mitzvot in the area of family, food, schooling, relationship to Israel, social justice, the need for Yiddish, and it is here that the differences within Orthodox Judaism are to be found. To the non-practicing Jew, Jewishness rather than Judaism is at the center, and Judaism, in other words the mitzvot, are one of many ways in which one's Jewishness, the ethnic component, is expressed. In this context, the edut, rather than being fulfilled in order to maintain a connection with God, have the primary purpose to maintain an ethnic identity, linking the present with the past. This desire to maintain an ethnic identity hinges a lot on the attitudes of tolerance from the host culture at large as to how much it is willing to tolerate a separate ethnic identity. It certainly is not a guarantee for Jewish continuity. It also reflects the degree as to how much the Jewish subgroup is willing to go out of its way to maintain those customs that interfere with normalization and acculturation into society. Hence, certain aspects of the edut, a seder, going to shul 3 times a year, are in, but certainly not the chukim decrees that have no room in logic, nor are they useful in the acculturation process. Hence, they were deemed by the Reform movement and, more recently, left-wing segments of the conservative movement to be unnecessary in this day and age. It is with the chukim type mitzvot that one demonstrates by their observation the connection with God. To the non-practicing Jew, I might buy meat from a kosher butcher store as an expression of Jewishness, but that will not preclude my having a cheeseburger at some fast food outlet. Laws of shatnez, for example, are illogical and hence indefensible. Tefillin, insofar it might reflect the bar mitzvah process is in, at least for the week of the bar mitzvah, but beyond that they have no use, and therefore most non-practicing Jews, as a general rule, are not committed to mitzvot tefillin. The common thread is that these mitzvot, along with many of the specific requirements involving the edut, the ownership of chametz during Pesach, to cite just one of many examples, are difficult to find any rationalization in this day and age. Their observance is limited to the 15 to 20% of those Jews committed to halachic Judaism. And it is these mitzvot for which one cannot provide a rational justification, when observed, demonstrate and facilitate a connection with God.